I can do that.
Do that.
All right. Ooh, thank you, ma'am. Good evening, folks. Good to see all of you here this evening. I certainly want to welcome you to the Vinton Town Council meeting for this Tuesday, February 17th, and we will start with the roll call.
Councilmember Lyles,
Here.
Councilmember McCarty, Councilmember Stovall,
Here.
Vice Mayor Mullins, here, Mayor Gross.
Here. Thank you. So folks, in just a minute, I'll ask you to stand for a moment of silence. I'll be praying in the tradition of my faith. I hope you'll pray in the tradition of your faith. And this evening, you might keep in your thoughts and prayers a couple of families that have suffered some losses. Karen Woods, a well-known citizen, passed away, so we will keep her family in our prayers, as well as council member Sabrina McCarty lost her father, so we certainly want to keep that family in our thoughts and prayers. And while we're standing, we'll also have the Pledge of Allegiance. Who's doing that tonight?
I will take care.
All right.
Yep.
Proud of you. All right, if you want to stand, please.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And with that, we will move on to, I guess, council activity. I don't know if we have anyone that's got the commute.
I have those. Yes, sir.
You guys are always way ahead of me.
All right, let's see. So our events, we have March 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Annual Senior Services Expo hosted by the Vinton Area Chamber of Commerce. The event will be held at William Byrd Middle School. We'd also like to encourage to visit one of the many restaurants and entertainment venues in our community, such as Rosie's, Lancerlot, Twin Creeks, Vinton Bowling, and Defy Gravity. For more information, look on each venue's website or social media. And for more information on anything in Vinton, please visit the In Vinton Facebook page, and don't forget to like and share. That was easy. That was a short one.
All right. Good job.
And then our council activities for the last couple of weeks, February 5th, Mayor Gross, Councilmember Lyles, and Councilmember Stovall attended Legislative Day in Richmond. That same day, Vice Mayor Mullins attended RVTV committee meeting. February 11th, Councilmember McCarty and Councilmember Lyles attended the Community Development Committee meeting. And is that it? Did you have finance today?
We did.
Okay. And Councilmember Stovall and Mayor Gross attended Finance Committee meeting today.
We did.
Thank you.
Was that it?
I think
I think so. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Next item is request to postpone or change the order of the agenda. Any requests? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And tonight it contains the minutes of the regular meeting of February 3rd. Any changes or additions? If not, we'll entertain a motion for approval.
go ahead, Keith.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay. Have a motion for approval by Councilmember Lyles, second by Vice Mayor Mullins. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right. Get on to the fun stuff, our awards and presentations. And Cody, I understand you have a special guest with you tonight.
I figured I'd come down here since I actually had two to do. Yes, before going to the item on the agenda, I did want to take the opportunity to introduce a former student of mine, Mr. Sam Lumpkin, who is here with us. So Mayor and members of council, Sam was a former student of mine, both in my introduction to public administration class and state and local government class at Roanoke College. So he has is interested in possibly pursuing something in the field of public administration. So he had asked if he could come and shadow today. So I figured between finance committee and council meeting, it'd be an opportunity to learn about. And he and I just got back from a little tour around town to see everything that's going on as well. So happy to have him here.
Well, welcome, Sam. Hope you enjoyed the Finance Committee meeting and hope you will enjoy this meeting and hopefully we won't scare you off. You bet. Good to have you with us.
Yeah. The second item that I have under this topic tonight is a recognition for VDOT this evening. And so I'd like to ask Mr. Brian Blevins, the Salem resident engineer, to come up and provide some details about an award that they won.
I'm going to provide very few details about the award. I've got Elaine Thurman with me, so what I wanted to just do is just to say I think it was a great partnership between us and the town. I think it turned out to be a very good project. While I had very little to do in some of the initial planning of the actual project, Elaine and her folks from materials and then their L&D folks that helped put this together really ended up with a really good and successful project. And I wanted to be here and thank you all for being a partnership with VDOT. So I'll let Elaine give you some details. So
Thank you.
So we submitted this project on Mountain View Road in Benton, the recent reconstruction
There
of
you go.
Mountain View Road in Benton,
I just stood on my toes.
for the Asphalt Pavement Award for Outstanding Pavement of the Year, because this project highlighted a lot of collaboration, not only between different divisions of VDOT, but also the town of Benton, as well as Superior Paving and Slurry Pavers. The challenge for this roadway is that it needed to be reconstructed, but the estimate was about $2 million, and the budget was less than that. So we worked together to come up with different options to rebuild the pavement, and so we used what's called full-depth pavement recycling, and that totaled about $700,000. So instead of splitting the roadway into two portions and not being able to complete reconstruction of the second half, we were able to completely do the entire route with some of that technology. And the benefits are it's a little bit faster for the public and less disruptive because we're not hauling as many materials off site. We're actually recycling the pavement and the stone and some of the soil together with cement and some stone, and then putting a new blacktop on top of that. So I just wanted to thank the town of Benton for your participation in this and the cooperation of utilities that were involved and pavement history and maintenance history that were necessary to know for getting this project completed correctly. Well, thank you guys.
Well, thank you very much. And I think we got a couple of folks from Superior Paving. Mr. Roy, did you want to say a few words?
Just say, I appreciate the invite. Thank you guys for having us. Appreciate the collaboration. It's new and challenging for us. We work together really well. This is Matt Allison. He was responsible for the production of the airball with the land. So, thank you guys.
Cody was very involved in the project.
And I'm sort of a Johnny come lately to this project. You know, the town started looking at this project more than 5 years ago, probably even longer ago than that. And so all credit goes to the Public Works team and especially Bo. We couldn't have accomplished it. The project, you can do all the planning in the world. And then once you're actually out on the ground, thanks to Bo and his team, you know, when we would hit a little hiccup from time to time, they jumped in and made it work. And as our folks from VDOT can sort of attest, this project was estimated to be as much as $5 million at some point, and it came in at under $1 million, and they even sent us the money back as a little surprise. So, you know, this is a huge partnership and an innovative solution for the Roanoke Valley that we were able to spearhead and show that we can get it done. So thanks to all around.
Yeah, well, that's obviously it's been a great project. You know, we got a great product, and as you mentioned, it went faster. And you know, anytime you can save that kind of money, it's worth celebrating, to say the least. So, do you guys want to come up as a team and get a picture there? Maybe we can get behind them.
They're gonna figure it
Yeah.
out. Yeah, we're here. You March other.
Yeah.
I think God, there and we haven't been at switch kind of shit. That's why I've been like school board. He feels so important, so. And that not games. Oh, but that's a long night. Thank you. I'm gonna reschedule. Yeah. Yeah. That's a long. It's the first one piece.
Okay, that is a great conclusion to a great project. Okay, next item is citizens' comments. I think we have a citizen here for a comment, right? Janet, always good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of Town Council, I am Janet Scheid, and I live at 1453 Wolf Creek Drive in the town of Vinton. My husband and I are regular users of the Wolf Creek Greenway, and as such, I wanted to take this opportunity to speak to you regarding the planned disc golf course. First, I'd like to thank Pete for asking for my input on this issue and being willing to listen to the few concerns that I had. I support this plan and am excited to see another form of recreation being brought to this public space. I have spoken to people on the trail, some concerned about the safety of trail users and others looking forward to the addition. In terms of safety, the main concern seems to be with trail walkers getting hit in the back of the head with a flying disc. I believe that if these concerns come to fruition, they can be dealt with in a prompt manner by relocating either the baskets or revising the course layout or just speaking to the people who are using the disc golf course and having them be a little bit more patient. I was pleased to see that in Pete's safety guidelines, the number one thing is to yield to all Greenway users. Some of us are slow. First and foremost, this is a greenway. It's been a greenway for more than 25 years, and the greenway users need to be prioritized. You may be surprised to learn that aside from the main stem of the Roanoke River Greenway from Carilion to Black Dog Salvage, the Wolf Creek Greenway is the most visited greenway in the Roanoke Valley. I feel confident that Pete and this council will keep the safety of the Greenway users at the top of their list. And speaking of how many people use the Wolf Creek Greenway, I want to thank the town for installing the restroom facilities at the Hardy Road end of the trail. To say folks, including myself, have anxiously been awaiting its opening is an understatement. It's a very attractive building and will add a much-needed amenity to the Greenway. I encourage the town to celebrate its opening with a ribbon cutting ceremony. This is a big deal, and please don't minimize how important it is. Maybe compared to the beautiful multi-generational park on the hill, it doesn't measure up, but don't underestimate how much Greenway amenities such as this one are needed and appreciated by the public. We should be proud that we're leading the way in building these amenities. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
Janet.
you.
Yeah, Janet, thank you for your comments, and you know how much we love to celebrate, so we can do a ribbon cutting. So,
If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'll just provide a few comments. I, again, appreciate Janet coming tonight. We've been talking for a couple of months about this project. It is, we feel like it's a complementary use of constructing a beginner disc golf course along Wolf Creek Greenway. There's about 4 holes that would go adjacent to the Greenway itself, and another 4 holes that will come back in the other direction. Certainly aware of that potential for user conflict, and as Janet put it, we want to serve the Greenway users first. There are a number of disc golf courses have been constructed in the Greater Roanoke Valley over probably the last decade. A good number of those do parallel Greenway similar to Wolf Creek. Actually visited with Bo Herndon Wade Park. They have a disc golf course down there, and it also has a couple holes that parallel if you look, and I've provided some examples of some signage around some of the different courses, and that is first and foremost, safety of all potential users of the park is of a concern of ours. So we'll certainly build that, make it very evident. But it is pretty much part of the culture for disc golf players. This is designed for a beginner golf course, so we'll have some hopefully newbies that'll come out and learn the game. But there'll be a lot of signage to direct folks to yield to users, use spotters when necessary to make sure that the greenway users are identified or not thrown at and targeted. Public Works is planning. We'd hope to get started earlier in February on some brush clearing out at Wolf Creek for the holes that are in the woods. But due to the snow, we've been slightly delayed there. So we hope to get over there next week. We've also been delayed on some of the park preparations for the Greenway restroom itself at both locations. But we did hire a contractor last week to get out and do the final stages of concrete work at Wolf Creek. So they're doing some finished grading work now, and we hope to open that up to the public fairly soon. And we will be scheduling some greenway, some ribbon cutting activities for both sites. We'll, as you said, like to celebrate, and we'll give it its needed due. So we know as the temperatures start to warm up, folks are going to get out and about. But those two amenities will be open very, very, very soon.
Great. Thank you, sir, for that. So we'll certainly look forward to that. Jen, always good to see you. Thank you for coming. So, all right, with that, we'll move on to our briefings this evening. And we have with us Mr. Ken Fay from Roanoke County. And always good to see you, Ken. I understand you have some information for us concerning real estate evaluations. Actually, valuations is.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Here to present the 2026 real estate assessment. So a little background first before we get into the numbers. The Roanoke County appraises all properties annually. Assessments are effective on January 1 each year. Reassessment notices are mailed to property owners after briefing to the county board meeting. That was the 5th of this year, 5th of January, they were mailed out. The Code of Virginia requires that real estate assessments be at 100% of fair market value. Real estate appraisal staff are responsible for identifying, locating, estimating the value of all properties within the county for tax purposes. It's the citizens who buy and sell real estate in the open market that establish values about how much they're willing to offer and accept for individual properties. County real estate assessors evaluate these transactions and value properties equitably with similar surrounding properties. Differences exist between individual properties and between neighborhoods across the county and certainly within the town of Vinton as well. Real estate values have increased significantly in the local, regional, and national levels. And a lot of this has to do with limited supply and now favorable mortgage rates. And looking at the numbers, this first slide here is the 2026 Roanoke County real estate assessments. You can see the increased change due to residential is 6.99%, and commercial is 4.64%, with an overall increase of 6.72%. The bottom half of the slide here says what those values were attributed to. You got new construction and market value, and the highest percentage was the market value of the residential properties. For the town of Vinton, last year was a little dip with the town according to the county, and this year there's a little rise. So the overall increase is 7.16% for the town of Vinton, 8.22% new construction, and 91.78% market value. This shows assessment growth with inflation. They were about the same. Now, if this slide was extended beyond 2016 in the past, there was a point where there's actually the assessments were lower than inflation by quite a bit and actually went down. They recovered in about 2014, 2015, and here this picks up the last 10 years of growth from 2016. It's pretty steady through to 2018. 19 and 20, you start seeing more of an increase. And then 21, 22, the actual rate of inflation was over the growth in real estate. Peaked in 2023 at 11.13%. Then you started seeing that gradually come down. To this year, 6.72% increase for the county. And for the town of Benton, you can see last year was 6.8, and we had a 7.16% growth this year. And it pretty much charts the same as the county in relation to inflation. This is a county history of residential sales. These are qualified sales. Qualified sale meaning a sale that's a typical arm's length transaction, not influenced by outside factors. Meeting of the minds between the buyer and the seller. Excluded from the qualified sale would be like a foreclosure. So there were 956 sales, and of those 8 were foreclosures. And this was as of November 7th when we addressed the board. Since then, it's about the same amount, a little over 1,000, about 1,060 is what the sales ended up being for number of sales for Roanoke County. For the town of Vinton, there were 85 total arm's length sales, and 2 of those were foreclosures. And the number of foreclosures have been relatively low. You can see there was a dip down in 2021, 22. There was a moratorium on foreclosures due to the pandemic. There's a little spike in the county and smaller. So in the town of Vinton, when that was lifted, when the moratorium was lifted, and then there's been 2 each in the last 3 years. So looking ahead next year, the local national real estate markets continue to perform strong. There are some national areas starting to slow in market value. Typically you hear about Texas, portions of Texas are seeing values decrease. Parts of Arizona, where they had real strong growth, starting to see some numbers leveling up and even coming down. And as far as value, a lot of times when you see real estate values or real estate plummets, it's a lot of times that's a number of sales. There have been a decrease in the number of sales in the past couple years. The number of sales are slowing. Inventory available homes are increasing. The Federal Reserve has continued to approve limited rate decreases. Uncertainty about the economy may slow down these rate changes. I think we're just below 6.10, 6.09. We're sitting pretty close in a 30-year fixed rate to breaking the 6% level. Lower mortgage rates could move the locked-in homeowners to sell. Locked-in are those homeowners that are in interest rates in 2-3%, kind of unheard of. They're reluctant to move out into a home and have higher interest rates. So this lower interest rates might get them to sell. Affordability is still a challenge, and market values will begin to stabilize in 2026. As far as hearing dates for 2026, the assessment notices were mailed out the 5th of January. Informal appeals were January 20th through the 30th of 2026. Last year, we had just under 300. This year, there were 257 calls. Of those, just under 200 were actual appeals. The difference between that number are inquiries. So there were less than 200 appeals, and talking about 46,300 parcels. The formal appeals will begin this April 30th. We have 3 hearing dates a year. It's April 30th, July 30th, and October 29th of this year. And the final deadline to apply for a BOE hearing is September 11th, 2026. In March 10th of 2026, there'll be a public hearing on the effective tax rate. The effective tax rate is the rate that makes your revenue neutral from the previous year. So given the increase in value, if your rate is here, rather than have an increase on this rate, the effective tax rate brings your revenues to what the same was last year. So it's revenue neutral rate. The effective tax rate is going to be 0.971 for the county. So March 10th will be a hearing on that. Anytime there's a 1% increase or more of the revenues, and there has to be a public hearing, that will be held March 10th. April 7th is a public hearing for the tax rate adoption and adoption of the 2026 tax rates. Any questions?
As always, Ken, you do a great job explaining all of that. I did want to kind of reiterate, because I've gotten some questions, and you and I talked about it briefly, the Code of Virginia that was mentioned on the first page talks about the real estate assessment as compared to the fair market value. So if I understand that correctly, in Virginia, by law, no county or municipality could just pick out an assessment rate. It has to be fair market value or less, right?
Yeah, there's something known as partial assessment, and back in, I believe it was 1986, the mid-80s, we were at a 40% rate, so assessment level. So if value of a property was 100%, the assessment was $40,000. In the mid-80s, the state of Virginia went to 100% market value state, which means that a home assessment is what it should sell for as of January 1, the effective date of the assessment. Now, the state has adopted the IAAO standards. IAAO is the International Association of Assessing Officers. That's a professional organization that oversees assessors in the state of Virginia, actually internationally. And they have set guidelines for acceptable ranges. The acceptable range the IAAO has for median ratio is 91% to 105. And the town of Vinton's is 92.9 or 93%. So kind of at the lower end of that range. So median ratio, that's the middle number of assessment to sale price. And that's where we're at in Vinton. The countywide is about 94%. Still.
Okay.
Then once, that's the level of assessment. And then we have statistical indicators that looks to see how accurate those numbers are, how tight they are. They get the COD, which is a coefficient of dispersion. The IAAO range is 5 to 15. For the county, we're at 6.8. For Vinton is 6.77, which is pretty tight. So that's the numbers, the sample of, or the number of sales medians against the normal distribution. So the PRD is another one that's, so the first one's a horizontal kind of measure. The PRD is a price-related differential that measures vertical equity. So it's homes that are at the higher end and homes at the lower end of the sale prices are equally assessed. And perfect is one. Acceptable standards for IAAO is 0.98 to 1.03, and the town of Vinton's is 1.005, so pretty close to where we should be on that.
Great, great. Well, thank you. I appreciate that additional information. And I understand you've done a few of these.
Excuse me?
You've done a few of the assessments now.
Oh, yeah. This is my 25th reassessment.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
About the same number in Florida as I've done up here now, so it's hard to believe it's
Wow.
been that long since I moved up here in 2013, so. And then this is the 26th assessment. So, yeah, it's just got into appraising in 97. So I'm almost in my 30th year appraising. I was a fee appraiser before I get into assessment. So,
Well,
but
congratulations
happy to be
on
here.
good career. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Can I ask a quick?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Go
no, that's
ahead.
fine. I've just had several people ask me about the freezing of the taxes. Is there any chance that the income level would be raised?
Yeah.
Fluctuate, or is that going to change?
I'm not sure. I know they looked at it last year and they changed some of the numbers, and hopefully they will this year. That's handled by the Board of Supervisors, and then the Commissioner of Revenue administers the program.
Okay.
So, but I'll certainly mention that you brought that up.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good, thanks. Good.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have another familiar face with us this evening. Mr. Jeremy Holmes going to give us an update on the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission.
Which direction? Good. Thank you, members of Town Council, Mayor Gross. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight with the Commission's annual roadshow, some of the stuff that we've been doing for the town of Vinton and the region in general over the past year. I'm going to share a couple of specific projects and some things we've worked on in Vinton, and then highlight some of the ongoing things that the Commission has been working on and it will be looking on into the next year. And we'll do a very brief overview of the strategic plan. Many of you are involved in that process and may not want to hear any more about it, but you're having one slide that will talk about the strategic plan. I always like the opportunity to remind folks what the Regional Commission is. We are instructed by the Code of Virginia to help our member localities address issues of greater than local significance. So our job is to help you work with your neighbors on shared challenges and opportunities to develop programs and plans and projects that kind of efficiently deliver services or funding or get things off the ground, or identify pathways to kind of solve regional challenges or get good things going. Increasingly, a lot of things we're also looking at are raising the region's profile in Richmond and beyond to make sure that the investments that we need to see in this part of the state make their way here. You mentioned being the General Assembly. I took my first trip to the halls of the General Assembly the same day. I ran into Salem. We somehow passed each other, but I was there advocating on behalf of needed childcare investments and some of the legislation that's going through around investing in childcare resources, which is an economic precursor that we really need in our region. And we're trying to tell the story of what is happening in the greater Roanoke and Allegheny Highlands that need those investments. So some of the other stuff we'll talk about in a second with the strategic plan also address our legislative work and things that we're doing to try to make sure that we're getting state and federal and other investments to support our needs here here in the Roanoke Valley. I always say we don't do this alone. We need you. And Vinton, I'm proud to say, everyone in this room pretty much participates in some level of the Regional Commission or the TPO, often in a leadership role. And that's really critical. We need our elected officials and our locality staff at the table to help us understand what you need and to be part of that conversation. A lot of, I think, what the Regional Commission does is it invites everyone to the table to talk about what needs to get done. And so if you're not there, we don't know kind of how to pursue those solutions and identify those challenges. So I appreciate Mayor Gross, Mr. Stovall, Mr. Lyles, your service on the TPO, Mr. Sexton on the TTC, Mr. Peters on the Regional Commission, and every place where you guys all serve. We really appreciate your time and commitment. On a couple of specific projects I wanted to talk about, as you know, we do a lot of work around the greenways. In the last year, we did some foundational work with updating our regional greenway maps. A lot of that was led by Ms. Amanda McGee in our office. So primarily this was just getting our data right to make sure we were reflecting the existing local greenway sections, what was still on the plan from our last update, what had changed to work on some realignments. Also the inclusion of the Craig Botetourt Trail in that network to know that that is another regional economic driver and a regional recreational facility. This is really laying the foundation for the update of the 10-year plan, which will kick off next year. So this will be a really foundational review of what is next for the greenways as we work on wrapping up the sort of urban connections and getting that 26-mile Roanoke River Greenway section done and some of the neighborhood connections. What's next for the region in terms of neighborhoods, in terms of the Valley to Trail to Blacksburg, and other sorts of facilities. You're also aware that one of the other big changes for the Greenway support was the relocation of the Greenway coordinator position from Roanoke County into the Regional Commission. I kind of say it's coming home after 29 years, where it started with us and is coming back, and we're excited to continue the work of this role for all the activities around supporting the expansion and maintenance and et cetera of the existing system. We're excited to locate that within the office where the TPO is and where funding for the greenways gets funded. $35 million of the greenways have been funded through TPO allocations, so having that position within the TPO will help facilitate that additional expansion, but also additional economic development, outdoor tourism work that position will do, supporting our friends in Craig County and the Allegheny Highlands and in Franklin County. So we're excited to make that change and think it's going to be a good thing for the region in general, not just for the existing kind of greenway footprint. Another smaller project I think is still worth highlighting. The commission has had a partnership around the Arbor Day mini grant program. I have 2018 up here. I've been told it's actually much older than that, maybe even older than my time at the Regional Commission. But this is one of the areas where we can do at least a little bit to actually direct money to make something happen on the ground in a small but meaningful way in our localities. So Vinton received a little over $3,000 for 10 tree plantings in the last year. One of the other things that this highlights is one of our roles as the Regional Commission is to work with state and larger funders to kind of program money locally that they probably wouldn't do a mini grant program, right? If we relied on some of bigger foundations or state agencies, they probably wouldn't be doing $3,000 grant programs. But through our partnerships with state agencies, we can take pots of money, reprogram that out, and get smaller but meaningful programs out on the ground in the region. So this is just an example of one of the many areas that we're able to do this, and our role as a facilitator between state and local governments is sort of exemplified. I'm going to highlight just some other areas of work that hopefully you're a little bit familiar with, but just to show the breadth of what the commission is working on. I note housing. 3-4 years ago, we were not talking about housing at a regional level or at the Regional Commission, and now housing is one of the major things that comes up in a lot of our discussions with localities. So we're trying to figure out where exactly the commission lives in this space. We had Todd Robertson from Statesman Homes, a local developer, at the commission last December to talk about the challenge of addressing housing supply and some of the ideas that we might be able to do from the Regional Commission to address that, anywhere from creating a regional housing trust fund to assisting with permitting or zoning issues, or even just stronger applications to Virginia Housing to get more money in to support developers and projects like we've had some success in the past. We've spent a lot of time talking with the airport as a major economic driver for the region. We, for the first time, had Greg Campbell, the head of the Virginia Department of Aviation at our TPO. Despite having the airport on the TPO, since we've had a TPO, we've never had that agency come in and talk to us about how that work gets done in the state and what we could be doing as a region to better support those kinds of investments, not just in things like the runway expansion that everyone kind of knows is out there, but there's a lot of little but critical investments in facilities, road work around the airport that are going to be needed before we even get to something big like a $500 million, tunnel over 581 or whatever that ends up looking like. So we've been doing a lot of work engaging the airport, partners in the chamber, taking a couple field trips down to Raleigh to understand how they do things to support RDU. They've got some great models and stealing those ideas and bringing them back to our region. Transportation is a huge part of what we do. Half of our time is spent in transportation. So we're continuing to work around issues of policy, not just the project and the funding and the regulatory part of the MPO of moving smart scale projects through, but also what can we be doing as a region to communicate our needs to the CTB. We spent a lot of time a couple of years ago when there were some policies coming down the pike that were pretty bad for our region. And we won't take all the credit, but we did engage a lot with Dr. Smoot and the CTB, and some of those things didn't happen. Some things still did. And we're continuing to look at those policies where maybe some things under the new administration will respond to that advocacy. So from a policy level, we're working with the state on that, but also at the upcoming TPO meeting, we'll be talking about what we learned last year when OEP visited us to talk about how to develop good projects that are going to score well in the coming smart scale round and the ways that we might be able to help our localities focus in on good scoring projects and bring those investments in. Our region got nothing from smart scale last year. Four regions in the state did not get a single smart scale project, and when Roanoke and Northern Virginia both don't get smart scale projects, suggests that there's something going on that we need to try to address. So that's one of the things that we're working on. We've got some other work in our water quality. This is a growing part of our environmental work. This is primarily in our rural area, but this is an example of some of the small but meaningful programs we do in our community development department. We're doing a lot of education, rain barrel outreach, best management practice outreach in our Chesapeake Bay region, in Allegheny, Craig and Botetourt, and work around septic pump outs for our rural customers, where we help them take care of those septic systems, get them cleaned, and hopefully extend their lifespan, but also make sure that there's no disasters that get into the water table and kind of mess up the water system. And there's a lot of other things we do around transportation, community development, housing. I would be here all night if we talked in depth, but I want to highlight just the range of things that we're doing, and that is because of those conversations. It's the things that you're asking us to look at as an organization, and we're trying to be responsive to learning more about how to develop those projects. The last thing, it almost didn't want me to go to the strategic plan slide. So I will briefly touch on the strategic plan. The main thing, all of you, I really appreciate all of you who spent a lot of time with us over the last year working on this. It was a real exciting process to go through. For me, one of the things I wanted to highlight is that there are two real things that rose up out of this for me. And one is to make sure that the commission focuses on implementation. So the graphic you saw here, and those of you who were at the regional commission meeting in December saw this. This sort of represents all of the existing planning that we've done. We're a planning agency. We've done a lot of planning. We've got pathways to implement stuff. And so the strategic plan was really saying, well, we've got these 6 core things at the very least that we have to do. So can we work more on finding funding to get things built in these spaces around economic development, transportation, substance use disorder, and so forth. So that was one real highlight from that, to sort of unleash our staff to look for paths of implementation. and then other to make sure that we are investing where we need to in our rural communities and small towns, and that you guys are getting the support in terms of technical support and project development and so forth that you all should be getting from us, and tying that back into kind of raising that regional profile and seeking investments that are sometimes our small towns and rural communities need additional help in making sure that we're doing the right advocacy for that. So that's all I'll talk about the strategic plan. I just want to highlight real briefly some of the things that we've been working on. I know you all, again, are super involved, and none of this is hopefully coming as much news to many of you, but I appreciate the opportunity to highlight some of these things and talk to you about our work at the commission. I'm very happy to answer any questions you have, but again, I just appreciate your being there and coming at the table and being there every month and sitting with your fellow elected officials and hashing some of these issues out. So thank you very much.
Well, Jeremy, thank you. As always, great presentation. I certainly appreciate the Regional Commission and all the work you do, not just for Vinton, but for obviously our entire region. So like I said, I appreciate, I certainly appreciate you personally, but your entire staff is really a great bunch of professionals, and I think they do a great job.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it.
Folks, did y'all have any questions or comments for Jeremy?
Just a comment. I know you've been there quite a while, and a lot of projects have gone through there. I've been on that first, since I've been on council, and just seeing, when we did get Smart Scale, everything moved up and all the stuff that we've accomplished because of the regional commissions. Thanks, Jeremy.
Good job.
Well, mostly it's not me. I'm just trying to help other people do things to help you guys. So that's kind of my job.
You do a great job.
Yep.
Well, working beside Phil North, you earn every penny you make. But no, you do an excellent job with the commission. You dot all the I's, cross all the T's, you're efficient. And the information that you provide is there for us to be able to make those sound decisions and solid decisions for the region. So yeah, I commend you on the job you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're right.
No, thank you for being here. And it's always an interesting report because I'm not as familiar with it because I don't get to serve on that one, but I like to hear your report every year because I'm not tired of hearing about some of that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't go through.
Happy to run you through the strategic planning process if you'd like.
I'll let you know.
However, Lori does serve on a regional board, our RVTV representative here, and that's what we try to do as a council, and certainly we ask our staff for each of us to serve on a regional board or commission, and I'm happy to say I think we're all pretty well involved, and it's very interesting to see what's going on throughout the entire region. So yeah, so thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right, with that, we will move on to our items that require action. And I understand, are you going to do this? You want to talk about it?
Sir, Mr. Mayor and members of council, Ms. Stewart is sick today, so sort of pinch hitting for her in covering this agenda item and also covering a finance committee report coming up later in the meeting. I would also be remiss if I didn't welcome Ms. Kimberly Ramsey sitting up with me tonight. So if there's any additional information she may be able to provide, happy to have her here. Or as Drummond said, he just didn't want to sit next to me, so he needed a. We had enough of each other at the polar plunge. The item that you have before you is a resolution where this is a fairly routine measure. So every year we do a 5-year look back, and we essentially look to move outstanding personal property delinquent taxes from that 5th year back and outstanding vehicle license fee amounts into sort of what's known as a permanent file. So this is removing it from sort of our active collection sort of status to this more permanent file area. So this does not mean that it's written off. It does not mean that it is necessarily uncollectible. It's just an administrative task where we move it in this area. Although if Kimberly would like to add any to this, we do tend to believe that a lot of this remaining amount, $25,000 total across the personal property and VLF, a lot of it we probably believe, I think the term she's used is ghost fees. You know, these are probably records that have just never been cleaned up over the years, and $25,000 over after 5 years of collection, we feel fairly confident in moving this forward. So if you have any questions, we're both here to answer them.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments? Okay, council, you have before you a resolution as described by our deputy town manager that would, is set aside the proper term? Whatever. Anyhow, would move the aging accounts to a separate list.
I'll so move a resolution.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Stovall and a second by Vice Mayor Mullins. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Miles,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mullins,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. Thank you. I don't see anything listed for public hearings this evening, so move on to our reports from committees. One of you folks going to do that, I guess?
I can as well, unless Kimberly wants to jump in and do it.
I wasn't giving you information.
Excellent. No. The Finance Committee meeting was actually sort of fairly straightforward today. We gave a sort of brief overview of Mr. Fay's presentation, gave some background on how staff uses that for revenue projections for our budgeting process, and then walked through where those stand. So Mr. Peters, myself, Ms. Stewart, Ms. Ramsey, and I are sort of actively working on the revenue projections for FY27 and the budget development process. We are aiming for April 7th to be a budget work session, which will sort of, the way I've been describing it, that's sort of council's first complete view at a total rough draft of the budget in anticipation of the manager's recommended budget presented in May to council. So we're looking forward to doing that. We're also looking forward, sort of in line with what Mr. Fay presented at the county's schedule. We need to adopt our real estate and personal property tax rates by April 7th as well, like with the county, in order to stay in line for the spring billing schedule with the county. So that way we can get the tax bills sort of out in a timely manner and meet the deadlines that we've established for that. In addition to those discussions, we also briefly sort of discussed the resolution that you all just passed, and then just talked about general financial matters. One thing, due to Ms. Stewart's acute illness today, we did not have the complete financial statements for January 31st ready for consideration. So I would just ask that council consider that at the at the March 17th meeting. That's the report.
Okay, thanks. Council, anything for Coden?
Yeah, I did want to add for Lori and Keith, we did get a briefing from the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, yeah.
They did, I think you have a copy, of the budget that they presented?
Yes.
Yeah, so she does have a copy of the budget. They did present it. They did talk about hiring a new person 3 days a week. That person's going to, their one main focus is to go after more businesses to become members. There are 200 and some. I think you said we had 500 and some business licenses, I think. No, you said 580.
558.
Yeah, so to go after at least like 200 more of those. Their big thing is that naturally where the Mingles flourish and the Mingles bring a lot of people and the Mingles make great money, if it rains, they don't have a mingle. So I think all in all, they were definitely going in the right direction. They referred back to several years back when they didn't have really any money in the bank, and now they have a good substantial amount of money in the bank. So anyway.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Stovall. I apologize. I was so focused on the items I needed to take care of, I had forgotten. We had Mr. Connor and Ms. Tuning there from the chamber to present that, and very good report. And I would say we would probably happily welcome them back to give any updates that they would want. Happy that we're a partner with them, and look forward to hearing more from them in the future.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, they had a very thorough, very good report, and I come away with a lot of confidence in their board of directors, and as I have had for several years. But I really think those folks are working hard, and things are headed in the right direction. So, very excited about that. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our next committee report, which is community development. Good to see you, Nathan.
You as well. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The Community Development Committee met last Wednesday. The first bunch of items of discussion were centered on the economic development project updates. First, we highlighted the work that the Wilkinson Group is doing on the corner of Wesley and Walnut with the Cornerstone development, and also, the town did work on the alleys behind it to allow it to be more pedestrian oriented, and also the intentions of the town also is to provide a safer pedestrian accommodation across Walnut Avenue as well, to where the Walnut Avenue parking lot is, to get the future patrons across the street safely to the rear of those properties. The next few projects, we also highlighted the importance of the EPA Brownfield grant that we receive every few years, and actually that grant cycle is going to be opened up again next year. But just to highlight the importance of that money, which helps with environmental assessments, such as like phase 1s and phase 2s, scoping, other planning initiatives. Pretty much, or most of the economic development activities we see in the town has been associated with that grant pool. We said with the hotel project that's underway, but projects currently that are in their study phase or early initial research phase include the McGimsey property beyond the River Park Shopping Center off of Washington, the River Park Shopping Center out parcels, which are currently used as residential properties on the corner of Washington and Bypass Road. The Greenway Construction properties that are owned by the Greenway Construction properties on East Madison, and then of course 7 Walnut Avenue, where the Walnut Avenue parking lot is and where the former McClung building is. So just to highlight the importance of that Brownfield grant, and also how important it is in getting these projects moving forward, or at least analyzed and propped up to actually be brought to fruition, as we've seen with a lot of other properties and projects, including the Gish Mill. Moving to just a small business that we wanted to highlight that should be opening in the next few months, Dos Mas in downtown South Pollard. Just wanted to highlight that they should be having their grand opening in the next few months. We'll say spring of 2026. And then highlighting national chains and just franchise updates and interest. 1000 Hardy Road, which is the former Rite Aid building, the Wawa Group has officially submitted their site plans for that property. So that's a good sign for that property. It won't just include the existing parcel, but also an adjacent parcel as well. And those plans have been submitted to the county and the town for review. Moving on to community development project updates, we highlighted the Department of Energy grant program that Jill Luce is working on. That will help train local individuals, possibly younger folks, to train them on how to do energy assessments and weatherization programs. But that was a $200,000 grant. The Department of Energy that we will be contracting with an outside group to actually administer that grant program. The gateway signage to the town, we highlighted that this year that will all be being revamped through the VBR program. The town's been working in conjunction with that VBR project, but now it's actually coming to fruition throughout the town at 5 different locations at our gateways. The Gus Nix slash Gishmill Waterline Improvement Project. That's actually officially been bidded out for construction, and that will be completed by August of this year. And that water line will serve both the Highland Road communities and properties, and also Wayne Street, Marlowe Street, and obviously Gishmill. But the entire area has had water supply issues, and so working with the Water Authority, they've developed the designs, they bid it out, and the town will be contributing financially to complete that project. But it'll benefit Gishmill, but also benefit future economic development projects such as the annex building adjacent to Billy Bird, and then also possibly projects such as the Shalane property on Gus Nix, and also all of the residential units throughout that entire part of town. Looking at mural updates, just emphasizing public art in the town. We touched on the mural updates that Jill's been working on, trying to get Norfolk Southern to give us permission to paint the bridges at West Virginia Avenue and Walnut Avenue. It's hard to get permission for the railroad to touch their property, but she's still working to try to get the permits for that. She has found an artist who would be able to actually execute the murals once we get that permission. And then working in terms of like a private property owner who wants to do a mural, Boomtown CrossFit, the town's also seeing where we can fit in the picture of possibly bringing a large mural project to the building, to that property in the Midway community. Pete covered the Wolf Creek Greenway Disc Golf Course update earlier in the meeting today. FEMA mapping updates. So FEMA is updating all the flood maps. They haven't been updated since 2007. And so throughout this entire year, we're going to be sending out mailers to all the properties that are in the floodplain, having a community meeting, and then working through all the state code and federal requirements for reporting out before the maps are actually adopted. And this is not just the town of Vinton, this is this entire region of Virginia. But towards early next year, once we adopt our ordinance and get through all the notice requirements, all the flood maps in the town of Vinton will be updated. And for what I'm seeing, it's going to be a massive reduction in the town. We're actually pretty fortunate to not have to report to people that they're having increases in their floodplain. I've seen entire blocks of neighborhoods that are no longer going to be considered part of the special flood hazard area. So we'll have less properties in the floodplain after this, just based on new technology and LiDAR and everything with the mapping update. Moving the transportation projects, Glade Creek Greenway Phase 3. That survey process is currently underway. They finished the Gus Nix survey portion and up North Pollard, and now they're working on surveying the properties that are adjacent to the Norfolk Southern Railroad line and going into Vineyard Park. But once the survey is done, we can move into the engineering firm, Arcane Cake, and actually work on actually designing it. And once again, as Jeremy was mentioning about ARVARC's support, the regional commission's support of the town, it's been nice having them take on the role of administering that LAP project on behalf of the town, with Andrea Garland taking on that work. The Walnut Avenue Phase 3, Walnut Avenue Improvement Project, Phase 3, a smart scale project that was funded in the town. It's in the right-of-way phase, and we're still working with some property owners on some final design changes before they can move into the full-fledged right-of-way phase, but it's still underway, working with VDOT, and staff are working close with VDOT and those property owners and business owners. Just a minor note about East Cleveland and Pine Street. We had parking issues, so there's going to be the installation of no parking signs across from Cleveland Mart. The parking areas are not currently, they're not supposed to be public parking, so this is more just to emphasize enforcement or give our police officers the ability to enforce these areas. And then on Pine Street, there's just stormwater issues developing that we want to mitigate. And then finally, Cody covered the budget process in relation to the economic development incentives built into a lot of our performance agreements, and then the CIP that's being formulated. So with that, that was our meeting. If you have any questions?
Wow, you guys had a great meeting. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
But a lot of good news.
Yeah.
Covered a lot, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good news about the permit being filed at the Rite Aid property.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Let's move forward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Good report.
We've got to top it next time.
That'd be a challenge, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Nathan, for a great report. And sounds like that committee's really been busy. I don't see anything listed for town attorney. Always good to see you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to be seen.
Yes, it is. Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything critical?
Just a couple of comments. I just wanted to notate, was asked of one of the council members about man hours and materials used for the snow removal. So through February 6th, we have dedicated 903 man hours towards snow removal this year and used 167 tons of salt.
Wow.
Good, Mr. Peters, give those numbers one more time.
903 man hours.
Okay.
167 tons of salt.
Wow.
Incredible. Wow. It was definitely a challenge this year.
Well, salt.
Most difficult snow that I didn't have to shovel it, but difficult snow that I saw. I mean, I did my own sidewalk, but
Yeah. Wow.
the guys worked really hard, and a lot of long hours and back-to-back days, back-to-back snows even.
Yeah.
Did a good job, and as always, the snow removal is one of our very highly regarded services we provide, and I think the guys take a lot of pride in that, and it shows when they get geared up for the removal. After about 72 hours, though, it gets a little old.
But then hopefully we won't have any more, and then next year they will have forgotten and they'll be excited about it again.
But they do a great job. Just a couple other things, just update on the park. We had a progress meeting today with our playground installer. We've been waiting on some warm weather for the pour in place. So they have, the pour in place crews will mobilize next Monday. We've got some good weather for extended forecast. So there'll be 5 days of gravel installation and compaction, and then they'll be back the following week for installation of the pour in place itself. Then we can do the other amenities around kind of the exterior of the park. We feel like we'll have the park at this current timeline, as long as the weather continues to cooperate, by the second week of March, it should be completed. We are planning a ribbon cutting sometime around the 1st or 2nd or 3rd of April, where I know there was some travel arrangements from different members of council, so we're trying to thread that needle, because we certainly want all 5 members of council to be there for that important ribbon cutting. As I mentioned, we will do one at Wolf Creek Greenway restroom as well, in conjunction with the Roanoke Valley Greenway system. We've been doing some work down there as well. Hired a contractor, actually same contractor did the work at the park, poured some concrete down at the Wolf Creek Greenway this past week. So they're doing some finished grading down there. And regarding the chamber, I apologize for being a little late for the Finance Committee meeting, but I did present to the Chamber Executive Committee last week. As a part of the collaboration agreement, we will be presenting the Chamber annually with a report card to let them know how they're performing as compared to the agreement. So I presented that to them last week, to their executive committee. The report looks very, very good, very positive. As we've kind of talked in different categories, they are performing better in many areas of collaboration with the town. So that's a good sign. We have agreed to make some modifications to the collaboration agreement for this upcoming year, mostly because of we referenced several events where we provide the War Memorial for their two of their larger indoor events, with one being the casino night and one being the Senior Expo. Because we've been shut down for a year with the War Memorial, they have relocated those events to the Moose Lodge and to William Byrd, respectively, and that's seems to be going extremely well. So I think the indication, we haven't put it into written form yet, but looks like we may be modifying our agreement where they will keep those two events at those other locations. So it gives them more room than we can provide at the War Memorial. So I think it's going to a good solution for them, but also another date that we could actually rent, to a paying client. So I think it's a win-win for us both. Otherwise, I think that's all, unless you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions, folks?
No, sir.
I'll provide you with a copy of that report for the chamber, and the next mayor's report. I'll provide a copy of that.
Yeah, that would be great. Great. Thank you. Appreciate that. So with that, we'll turn it over to council. Councilmember Lyles, you have anything further this evening?
No, I don't, other than, keep Sabrina in your thoughts and her family.
Yeah.
You know how sad that is, so.
Yes, you're right. Thank you for that. Ma'am, anything further?
Yes, also, I wanted to say what Keith said about keep Sabrina in your prayers. And I'd also like to commend some members of the police department and our deputy town manager for their polar plunge. It wouldn't be the cold I'd be worried about, it'd be the new river. I'm just saying, good job. Very good for a good cause. I was sort of jealous with the hats, and it was very good pictures. I was impressed.
You can join us next year.
Now, I might do it if the location changes. No, that was great. And they also, you guys weren't, I didn't see you guys on the news, but they showed clips of it on local news. And I was like, that's a really good cause. Good job, guys. And also for all the Olympic nerds out there like me, a few more days. I just love it. I go home and watch and wish I was there.
Well, the girls are playing Thursday night for the gold.
The men are doing well also, so that's exciting.
I do know the girls are playing.
And the bob
And there are other winter sports I'm learning. No.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, so well, first off, of course, congratulations to you and your staff. I was commenting in the Finance Committee meeting today that actually a guy, I of course found out where he lived up on Ramada, but he commented on Facebook about, and he of course he used a slang word, but he talked about the fact that the people who complain about the extra taxes that they pay in the town of Benton, did you complain when you got to ride around through the town on clean streets and everybody else couldn't even get out in the county and all this kind of stuff? So he really committed y'all. And also, did you see the picture of where y'all were driving tandem in front of Benton Baptist Church? And that's a great picture. I mean, I really like that. So yeah, congratulations to that. And I got to say, as y'all know, I missed the last council meeting, and of course we go to Hatteras, and the most exciting thing about it was on Friday night we had 22 of us in the house, and we had 8 children in there, 4 years to 3 months.
Oh man!
But anyway, it was a great time, and of course, it's a great place to go. You got to love oysters to go down there. If you don't, it's not a place for you. But anyway, if you like oysters, it's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah. Usually the time we get to me, I just kind of reiterate a lot of what you folks have said. But we've had a time of sad news the past couple of weeks. I mentioned earlier a passing of Karen Woods. Karen was a great lady, of course, from a great family, and they've really contributed a lot to this community over the years. I just really appreciated Karen, and it's sad to hear of her passing. And of course, we want to keep Sabrina's family in our thoughts and prayers since her father had passed away. I'd like to reiterate too how much we appreciate Public Works and the police department. These past few weeks have been trying for a lot of folks, and we just appreciate the extra effort that's been made, and it really shows. I've gotten a couple really nice comments I'll try to pass along when I'm better prepared. I also want to mention the VML Government Day that we went to. I thought this year was particularly productive. I appreciate staff lining up appointments with our representatives and keeping us up to date on things. And the VML, I got to say, did a good job this year. Not only did they have good food, but they, they had some really great speakers. So it was time well spent, I thought. Very worthwhile trip. You mentioned the Olympics and, excuse me. We don't have a lot of athletes in our family, but we have a lot of fans. And we look forward to the Olympics every year. Certainly great sports, entertainment and everything, but a couple of things that have really jumped out at me this year so far is a lot of those athletes know each other from competing together throughout the entire 4 years, and very often we've seen demonstrations of good sportsmanship. For the most part, there was one gentleman in particular that acted like a baby and threw his skis off and all that stuff. But other than that, we've seen a lot of great sportsmanship, and I thought they really set a high standard. I wish I could say the gentleman's name that lost the gold in figure skating. He's from Virginia.
Elio Mallon.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And what a great example he said of sportsmanship and really acted like an adult. He congratulated the folks that did win. And so that it was just a reminder to me, sports always a lot of fun, entertaining. I appreciate folks that can play sports, but more than that, it carries a message, and a lot of the Olympic folks have really presented that message well. So I'm like you, I've really been a nerd, an Olympic nerd these past couple of weeks. So, all right, anything further to come before council this evening? Nope. If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, please signify by leaving. Thank you,
Mayor,
folks.
could you just help us out on what sports does Pete play? When you took over, you said, sport